Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. Years and years ago, I found the white fur out in the forest, right? And it disappeared and everything, and that started off this whole thing. Then I found out that they, or whoever was out there, were leaving things um, in certain spots, what I used to call is the trading areas, because I would leave them a stone or something, or in one case a knife, and they would give me bones and other things, which at one point they gave me 3 feathers that were lying on the ground, different colors, and it looked like at the end of the feathers they were dipped in dye. So each, there was blue, red, and yellowish color dipped at the end of these feathers, small feathers. So that started that. Then one day I found a feather, just a little white feather, and it had what looked like a piece of thread tied around the end of it. And I brought that home to keep as evidence, and I thought, well, maybe that was a gift and that was a good sign. Well, what started to happen was that in my rear bedroom overlooking a pond, I was having sleepless nights, it seemed, but it seemed like I slept all night, because I would just wake up in the morning, but I would be tired all day. And on my legs there would be these like scratches and things. So I went through a couple months of that, trying to figure that out, and I decided that maybe I was being visited and taken somewhere. But obviously no way to prove it, so what I did was I moved my bedroom into the interior of the house, and I never had that happen again. I also at the same time took the little white feather and the piece of thread or whatever it was tied around it and threw it away and got it out of my house, because I didn't know if that was maybe something that was making all of that happen through some odd way. So anyway, I've been asking in my dream world, which is like between like 3 and 5, I'll sit there and I'll just go into this trance-like state and I talk to them. I don't know if they talk to me back, but I talk to them, and it seems like they listen to me, because everything that I've asked for them to show me signs, like the lights in the sky and all that. And the other day I asked them if they'd give me another sign, and they took my wind machine and they made it go to 109 miles an hour, which is just bizarre. So that was, I was realizing that they can hear me in my dreams, and they're always listening to me for some reason, and that's why I go out in the forest and I find all this stuff, is because it's actually they're controlling what I'm doing, I guess, and they know what I'm going to do and where I'm going to be, and they give me directions by giving me these signs out in the forest, where I follow them and then I find these things. Well, I asked them the other day, I said, oh, if, you're welcome to come into my house if you'd like, and give me a sign, thinking that maybe they couldn't do that. It seems that they can't get into this second floor of my house except through the back window, and that was only if I was in there. But so what happened, I found this big red splotch of goo, as I showed in a previous video a few videos back, that was on my floor one day, and it came in at an angle. It didn't drop down from the ceiling, and there was no marks on the ceiling, and I looked up under the ceiling tiles and all that. I mean, I go through everything whenever I do anything. So, but there it was. So to me it meant that they can come into my house and they leave me signs. So I asked them the other day, I said, well, it seems like you can come into my house and all that. If you can, show me another sign. So what happens? I wake up the next day and this is what I found on my floor where the red blotch was, not about a foot away from it. What was that? Whew. Almost lost that. So anyway, there it is. Another white feather. This was a feather, actually. It's not like the white fur I find. This is a feather. But it was sitting there on my floor, obviously for me to see. And what makes it interesting is the fact that, like I said before, when I found that white feather with a string tied around out in the forest, I threw it out of my house. What is interesting is this looks exactly like the feather that I threw out of my house, I don't know, 7 years ago, and it's on my floor. It doesn't have anything tied around it, but it is the same kind of white feather that I found out in the forest that day. So I still don't know. See, this could be kind of, I don't know how to, actually, I don't know what to think about it really. If it's a sign, I mean, obviously it's a sign, but is it a good sign that they gave me this white feather? Or is it something else? I don't think it's something else, because I've been doing this for so long. Actually, all my life I've had things like this happen, and nothing ever has happened bad to me that has to do with any of this. It's like they're just reminding me that they're there and they're listening to me, which is awesome, because it makes my job a lot easier if I know somebody's there helping me, and it seems they are. But I just thought I'd show you that. It's out of focus, no doubt. There it is. So I don't know if I'm going to keep this or bring it out of the house. I don't know if I'll keep it near me. If anything, I'll put it downstairs and leave it downstairs. I have like boxes of hair, and I have all sorts of things that I found out in the forest and were given by them, whoever they are. But it was interesting that this was in my house, and like I said, I threw what looked exactly like this out, and it had a little bit piece of thread around it, so I don't know what this signifies, although I don't have to guess anymore. I guess when I saw the thread tied around the end of it, the other one, which was tied around here, was just a little piece of thread. It would look like thread, and it was white, but it was obviously tied around it. And this one doesn't have that, so I don't know the significance of it or anything, but I guess that's it. That's just showing you what's going on in my house.